All right. Okay. So we're going to go over the most valuable skill for effortless fat loss. This is very important. And the reason this is important is because uh, when you're on the way, when you decide you want something, you want to do it in the most enjoyable way possible because that's what makes it sustainable. Okay. If you're honest with yourself, you're not going to be like, "Oh, I just want to lose some weight and then gain it all back." You want to live the life of the lean, strong version of you forever. Not, "Oh, I'm going to visit this and then I'm going to go back to a less desirable state." So the in order to make that sustainable, it has to be enjoyable and it has to be effortless. Okay. So what is the most important skill? Okay. Uh Tracking and understanding calories. This changes the game. Okay. Um you could talk about, oh, working out, how hard you work out, how often you work out, supplements and blah blah blah. You could talk about a million different things, but the biggest piece of the puzzle is going to be tracking and understanding calories, and I'll show you why as we get into this. And the big picture idea here is that it gives you ultimate freedom to stay as lean as you want while eating anything, anywhere, anytime. Okay. So food becomes something to enjoy, not an enemy that you're fighting against. Okay. So let's get into the basics because I want to keep. So I actually, the original masterclass somehow got corrupted, is not available. So I'm re-recording this today so I can send it out to you guys as quickly as possible. But that's totally fine. I want to keep this as tight and succinct as possible because part of the thing is making things practical. If you can't watch the hour-long video, you're less likely to then make it practical and do the stuff in the video. So I'm going to try to keep this as tight as possible and give you the exact things that you need to do. Okay. So let's go into the how. Okay. First and foremost, the calorie basics. Okay. I don't think I have a post here recently about this, which that reminds me. I should review that. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, I'll have to review that because that's super important. Okay. Now, let's just get into this. Okay. So we'll just go over this. So here are calorie basics, okay? Number one, we got to look at the extremes here. In order to lose the fat on your body, you have to consume less calories. If you wanted to become bigger, you consume more calories. Okay. In the case of actual starvation, what happens when people are actually starving, like where they're not getting any food? Third world countries, you know, concentration camps, whatever, like where they're literally being starved, nobody balloons up and gains a bunch of weight. They deteriorate and atrophy and lose everything until they are just bones and skin. Now, on the other side, where there are so many calories that are being consumed all day, every day, like in America, where food is cheap and calories are cheap, we have 74% obesity, okay? Because there's no limit to the food. We could eat food all day if we want, and very calorie rich food, okay? So that is very important to understand, because this is not random. This is not a mystery. This is physics. You are made up of calories. Calories are a one way to look at atoms, okay? And that's all it is. The more atoms you bring in, the bigger you get. The more atoms you use and you bring in less, so you're using more than you're bringing, you begin to use the atoms on your body stored as fat, right? So that part is very important to understand, okay? And looking at the extremes helps with that. So let's get into the basics here. Um, uh, Carbs, carbohydrates, okay? 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. Always and forever. Very important to understand, okay? So if you have a banana, right, that's pretty much all carbs. 1 gram of that banana is going to have 4 calories, okay? Always. If you have 1 gram of table sugar, which is a carbohydrate, you're going to have 4 calories. Very important to understand. Next, let's go over protein. 1 gram is also equal to 4 calories. Same thing. So if you have 1 gram of let's say you have 1 gram of protein from a steak, it's 4 calories. If you have 1 gram from protein from chicken, no matter where you're getting your protein from, it's gonna be equal to 4 calories in 1 gram. Okay. Now here is where things get interesting. Okay. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, and 1 gram of alcohol is 7 calories. 1 pound of body fat on your body is made up of about 300 or 3,500 calories. This is important to understand, okay? Now, if we go over here, I want to show you this. This is the beauty of today's world, okay? Actually, let's look at a nutrition label. Let's look at a nutrition label of, let's say, uh Coca-Cola. Okay. Let's go ahead and click this guy, open this up. Okay. 42 grams of carbohydrates. And since we know that 1 gram is 4 calories, let's just do the math here. 42 times 4 is 168. They're saying this total can has 160 calories. We know by our math it's a 168. Close enough. It checks out. Let's check something else. Let's do nutrition. Same thing here, right? This bottle says 28 grams times 4. We know that's a little bit more than 100. So tells us that not everything is correct, right? But it's close enough. All right, let's look at hot Cheetos. Hot Cheetos. See, this is the beauty of this. Like, this is so easy. We have all of the information that we would ever want. Okay, so 21 pieces or 28 grams. By the way, these are the things that you learn when you track things with a scale over and over and over again. Okay. So 11 grams of fat right here, right? We know that fat is 9 calories, so 11 times 9 is 99. Okay. Then we have, since carbs and protein are both 4 calories in a gram, we could just do 15 plus 1 times 4, right? 15, so 16 times 4 is 64. 64 plus 99 gives us 163. So you see, like, it says 170 calories, but the math works out to 163. It's close enough. We don't need to like get super deep into that. But the point is that it matches up. So you kind of see, okay, that this is physics here. This is not something that somebody's made up. It's physics. So if you eat more calories than you need, then you will gain body fat. So let's say that you require, and we're not going to go too deep into this rabbit hole, but let's say that you require 2,000 calories to maintain your body weight, to stay the same. Okay. And so let's say you started to eat 700 calories extra. So you started to eat 2,700 to 3,000 calories every day. You will start to gain fat every 5-ish days, right? Because 700 times 5 is 3,500. You only need 2,000. You see how that works out. Now in reverse, we got to do the same thing. Let's say your body requires 2,700 to stay at your weight, but you're overweight. And you take away 700, so now you're in a deficit of 700. Every 5 days, you'll lose about a pound of fat, right? This is so important to understand because everything you eat is right here in these 4 categories, right? And the alcohol piece is huge because people do not realize it. Let's see if we can pull up. And the thing is, like, this is the thing that people don't realize, that they don't actually, you see, they track carbs, fats, and proteins, but what they don't do is they do not have a section for alcohol. So you'll see, but if we do the math, it'll add up, okay? And I'm going to do the math for you real quick. So let's check this out. Let's look at this. A 12-ounce can. Okay, 12-ounce serving size. So this is like multiple servings, but let's just do the math on one serving. Is 100 calories and it has 3 grams of carbs. Okay, so we already know 3 times 4, right? 3 grams of carbs, 4 calories in the gram is 12. That says it's 100. So 100 minus 12 gives us 88. 88 calories. Where are those calories coming from? Because there's no fat in here and there's no protein. Well, that's coming from alcohol. So 88 divided by 7 calories gives us 12 and a half grams of alcohol. Okay. So that's where this 100 calorie comes from. 12 calories are from carbs, and the remaining 88 are from alcohol. Okay. Very important to understand. Now, so let's say you're going to have some Jameson. So this doesn't, I'm not saying don't drink, but you need to understand the calorie content of anything that you drink. Oh, they're not going to show it. Anyways, see if they, well, this might be an interesting read here because they're talking about why alcohol doesn't have a nutrition label. Might pull that up after, but let's just see if we can find anything. Okay. So let's look at this Captain Morgan. Let's see if this makes sense. 100 calories per 1.7 ounce. 100 calories. So no fat, no carbs, no protein. 100 divided by 7 calories gives us 14 grams. So in 1.7 ounce or one shot, you're getting about 12 and a half grams or 14 grams of alcohol. Important to understand. Now, moving on. How do you make this practical? Well, you you use a food scale and you use MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is the best tool. Like you have all of this information at your fingertips. It does not take for a very long time. It's very easy and you can track everything. Okay. So here's today what I ate today. Okay. Um and how do you be so how do you make this effortless? You take your food scale and you weigh 1,000 things. Well, you don't actually need to weigh 1,000 things. Practically, like there's like 20 things you need to weigh. But if you weigh 100 things 100 times, you're gonna get the idea. You'll know things like one egg is always going to be around 70 to 80 calories. It's going to have about 6 to 7 grams of fat, 6 to 7 grams of protein, no carbs. How do I know that? Because I've measured it, I've tracked it 1,000 times, right? Same thing with MyFitnessPal. You put it in there. So that's the other cool thing is like everything has barcodes. So, anything that has a barcode, you just scan it and it pulls up the nutrition label. The only way to start to understand this stuff is to just start tracking things. Are you going to mess up? 100% you're going to mess up. But that's the only way. Okay. Like you can't get good at something but expect to not mess up. So, the two tools you need, you got to get a food scale and you got to get MyFitnessPal. Okay. I would highly recommend getting I would highly recommend getting the premium version of MyFitnessPal because you can scan barcodes. And I would get the mini scale for Taylor. Let's see. So this one right here is good for on the go. And then for at home, I would get like this guy right here or this one. Okay. Because you can pull this label out or this display out and you can read it while you have food on the thing. But it doesn't matter. You can get whatever you want. I prefer that one. Now, you're going to need these tools because without this, you can't make this practical. Like you're not going to know. And so let's go ahead and go back here. Let's talk about the food enjoyment matrix. Now, you start tracking things, you're starting to put it all into MyFitnessPal, and it's all making sense to you, and you're starting to see, okay, 1 ounce of cheese is always 28 grams. It always has about 5 to 7 grams of fat. It always has about 6 grams of protein. You're starting to put this together. Why? Because it's giving us ultimate freedom to eat anything, anywhere, anytime. Okay. Now you're developing this skill. So now here's two frameworks that I use that I came up with from like how am I thinking about this? And it was this. I was like, why how do I look at food? I don't look at food as oh, is it good or bad? I look at food through the food enjoyment matrix, meaning is it is it if we were to make a graph here, See if we can find a better one. Okay. If we were to make a graph here and put enjoyment high to low and calorie density high to low, okay, I want as many high enjoyment and low calorie density foods as possible. Okay, because this tells me I'm keeping my calories low, which is important if you go back to this. And it's super enjoyable. So I don't need to eat things that I don't like. I just need to find things or move things into this quadrant, high enjoyment, low calorie, quadrant 1. For me, okay, that is things like burritos. Here's my quadrant 1 foods, okay? Burritos, chicken and rice, salmon and rice, chicken tenders, poke, right? Those are things that I find highly enjoyable. And if I make them, they're low calorie density. Okay. Um, and you can see like these are all quadrant 1. That's why I got the quadrant 1 check. This is chicken tenders right here. And you could put it in bread, you could eat them regular, but if you make them with an air fryer, your calorie density stays low. Taquitos or flautas, also quadrant 1, right? So you can go through my Instagram and see what things I actually do that are quadrant 1. Okay. Burritos, of course, like that's the name of the burritos is like this fucking cheat code if you're trying to lose fat. It just one of the cheat codes, right? So food enjoyment matrix is very important. The problem is that most people, what they're doing is they are they're in quadrant 2, high calorie density, high enjoyment. At least that's where they think they are. Okay. And so they're eating things that are filled with calories and they like them but they don't understand that you could take your favorite foods and try to move them here. Okay. So burritos is a great example of that. Hamburgers are a great example of that because today I ate, let's see if we could pull it up on here. Today I made hamburgers, and let me tell you, phenomenal. So delicious. So we took something that is quadrant 2, high calorie density and high enjoyment, and we were able to move it to quadrant 1 because we made it at home. When we make things at home, we're more able to control the fat content, which you can see over here. Fat is more than double the calories of carbs and protein. So if I make my own food, so when I made this hamburger, let's see, is with 96% lean beef. Okay. And so we can actually just pull this up. So in 8 ounces, which made 2 patties, we had 9 grams of fat, 48 grams of protein, and 0 carbs. Okay. Now let's go back to yesterday because I usually get in and out, and so we can look at the patties. Okay. So in 2 patties at In and Out, I had 12 grams of fat and 20 grams of protein. So, and by the way, this is 2 patties at an eighth of a pound, which is the equivalent of 1 patty. No, half a patty over here because so basically you would just double the numbers to make it equivalent. So this is actually to have the same amount of beef that I ate today at home, I would actually have 24 grams of fat and 40 grams of protein versus 9 grams of fat and 48 grams of protein. Okay. Now, this is an example of how you can move foods from quadrant 2 into quadrant 1 when you make it yourself, because you can control the fat content, which is the highest calorie thing. Okay. Now, another thing here to look at is, and I'll keep this again, I'm going to try to keep this short, is quadrant 2 foods don't need to be necessarily avoided. So when you have quadrant 2 foods, for example, here, okay, quadrant 2 means high enjoyment, high calorie density, okay? That is something there up here. You can intelligently incorporate quadrant 2 food. So for me, every day it's a donut. So you can see, and here's the donut. High calorie density, 16 grams of fat, 300 calories, high enjoyment. But I have that donut literally every day because the rest of the time I live in quadrant 1. The more time I spend in quadrant 1, the more I can dip into quadrant 2. And for me, all I care about is like, I want to eat the donut in the morning. That's it. And also, I like to go to In-N-Out. So, that's another quadrant 2 food that I can do. I can intelligently incorporate because I spend so much time in quadrant 1, right? And just as an example, like quadrant 1 recently has been burritos, as you can see here, and a huge protein shake in the morning, which gives me usually get about 70, pretty much 70 grams of protein every morning from that protein shake, which is delicious, right? Now, the second framework that I use is the 4 lenses of fat loss, okay? I have some posts about that as well. I had one recently. Let's see. Okay. So 4 lenses of fat loss. Is it low calorie density? Does it taste good? Is it convenient? Meaning, is it fast and easy to cook and clean? And is it simple to track? Meaning, does it have a ton of ingredients, or is it like, at most 3 ingredients? So if you can get yes to 3 out of the 4, you will lose fat and it will be enjoyable. Okay. And so these are questions to ask that are helpful versus what most people ask, which is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Terrible, terrible question because it's not helpful. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into the keystone food here, but this right here, I would really go back and watch and listen to this, take some notes, and then go into your week and start tracking and weighing foods. That is how you do this. That is the answer. Okay. And if you have questions, don't hesitate. Send me a message. If you want me to guide, you can do this by yourself. If you want me to guide you through this and coach you, send me a message on Instagram. Send me a message, rambier013@gmail.com. And, we can try to put you into one of my programs, into one of my coaching programs, but you can totally do this. It's very simple.